sir, coming to Somit sir for the detailed pathophysiology in each stages.
Yeah, so Chaitanya, it was very interesting to note that we are also talking about many people being infected, but yet be asymptomatic. So as our discussion, our last series we talked about is the basic thumb rule would be follow the Ritucharya. Now, why I'm trying to tell this is in our specific Ritucharya, there are enough charyas which have been told, the kind of diet and lifestyle which we follow, and especially we had a lot of discussion on importance of intake of ginger or dried ginger shunthi, which has a very strong prophylactic effect, as well as it also prepares the body molecularly, in fact. So we had seen that ginger has a lot of effect on nuclear factor kappa B activation, which very interestingly, this pathway potentiates both our acquired immunity as well as innate immunity. That means it also helps, ginger helps in enhancing our antibody response to the virus so that we are prepared to face the virus with better immune response. And second, also prevent the backlash of cytokine storm, what we are all talking about. So what we are talking about is the fatality. The people die in COVID is because of a hyper-inflammatory response, which is generated by your own body, specifically the macrophages, the neutrophils, and this leads to a state of acute respiratory distress syndrome, and this creates the pneumonia in the lungs, and these fluid then escapes into your bloodstream, creating sepsis. And then once the sepsis is created, then there is a state of individual organ failure. Slowly, either some people who are having a comorbidity of a history of renal disorder, so they undergo a renal failure, or people having a hepatic disorder, they get hepatic failure, or people who have cardiovascular issues, they get a cardiac failure. So what we are looking at is even a small preventive step for just including ginger in your diet can have a profound effect in preventing these conditions if you are having, or even preparing your body for a eventuality if the virus load in your system goes beyond a threshold which initiates a process of all the symptoms which happen in these corona COVID condition. Now, another important thing which a lot of discussion is going on is one of the early symptom is anosmia. So we were talking about why this anosmia, why Chinese population did not pick up this symptom, and why the people in Europe are showing so much of anosmia symptoms. If you look at the unfolding of this epidemic in China and Europe, you have two different ritus. So in China, the unfolding of this epidemic happened in Hemant and Shishir Ritu, but in Europe, it is happening in a Vasanta Ritu. And if you see, anosmia is one of the major cardinal symptom of apenasa. If you remember, we have a disease called as apenasa, and one of the cardinal feature is anosmia and distaste. You can't feel the taste. And the best part, the Madhavananda says that it is jantu krita. So such kind of apenasa is happening because of any jantu, here in this case of virus. So there is a very strong kind of reference in Ayurvedic text about this particular symptom which can coexist with a jantu or a viral load in the system. So we find out very important, because in Europe, almost 15 to 30% of people who had tested for COVID-19 positive showed this symptom. Now, if you look at the whole pathogenesis of apenasa, what we see is basically the dosha is when the kapha gets solidified by Vata imbalance. Now, you have a Vasanta Ritu where there is a Vilayan Rupa Kapha Vriddhi, but then there is a sudden raise in the Vata activity, which is not natural. It happens because of the infection of the virus, that is because of the Agantuga Karana. Then this apinasa happens. So again, what has been told in our text is Shunti. So if you look at the herbs also told in Apinasa Chikitsa, the two herbs which are told basically are Shunti, Ardraka Swarasam. You have to do either with the honey, you have to do Prasana, or you have to do Nasya. Nasya is what? First, Shunti Swarasa and Saindhava, which is Vatahara. Saindhava is said to be one of the best Vatahara. So again, this is the same Chikitsa we were discussing also in Sanipatika Jara, which eventually happens in the advanced stages of COVID-19. So where you have fever developing, then you have dry cough, and then fatigue in the majority of cases. But as Dr. Keshwan is rightly saying, see, we cannot say that we will give a single herb for everybody. We need to customize. That's why even if you look at the guidelines which Kerala government has come out, we have Elakanadi Kashayam, you have Indukantam Kashayam, you have Dashmula Kadutrayam Kashayam, you have Bharingyadi Kashayam. Why so much? But if you look at, in all this combination, something what is common is Dashmulam and Atrikatu. So even in this combination, a very important aspect of Shofa has been taken care about. Now, why Shofa is very important? Because as per what Sujit was telling about, once the virus enters into our cell, it starts a process of replication because it doesn't have its own mechanism to replicate. So it uses the mechanism of your healthy cells to start replicating. And since these proteins are foreign proteins, immediately our immune systems, both innate immunity, starts fighting against it and starts creating this cytokines and inflammatory response against this protein. So once this inflammation happens, the Shofa starts. So Shofa is very important to deal with, and that's where Dashmula, use of Dashmula in the moderate stage of a disease and advanced phase of a disease becomes very important, along with certain herbs which are basically going to first improve your innate immunity and modulate your hypersensitive hypercytomechemia, which is inflammatory response. And at the same time, are there some options of reducing a viral load? Now, reducing viral load would be a first strategy in the initial stages. And if you look at the kind of intervention which has been told in our text, especially in Vata Kafaja Jwara Chikitsa or Vatol Bana Sannipatika Jwara or Vata Kafol Bana Sannipatika Jwara, you will see again a very important herbs which comes into basically forefront is Kiratatiktam. Now, Kiratatiktam, you have two species which we take. In North India, Swaresha charaita, as well as in South of India, we take Andrographis paniculata. Now, both of the herbs is already studied in silico, as well as in certain preclinical in vivo studies have shown that they block these ACE2 receptors. That means what it does, when it competes with the virus to block the ACE2 inhibitors, it does not allow the spike protein, which should bind to the ACE inhibitor, to go into, because spike protein only helps the virus to go inside the cell entity. So when these drugs go and bind it before the virus, you don't get a binding site for virus to go inside the human cells, or it may be upper respiratory tract epithelial cells, or it can be alveolar type 2 pneumocytes. You need to, so if such drugs you see, there are Andrographis, which has that option. Then I was talking about Matulunga. See, Matulunga has azaspiritin, which has a similar effect of blocking ACE2 site. And you will be surprised that the same combination, Swarasa of Ardraka and Matulunga Swarasa with Saindavam has been told as a Nasya in Sannipatika Ujara. That means when the viral load is very high in upper respiratory tract initially, and I was going through the article in Nature which says that COVID-19 is more virulent than COVID 2003, the previous COVID version, in their first 4 days of once the person becomes affected. And what it says is that the communicability, the spread of these virus from upper respiratory tract is quite high. They have already done. So in such condition, this Nasya, especially with this Ardraka, Matulunga, has to be very important. And there are two other important herbs which are being told is, one thing is the use of Haridra, which is again modulating the NF-kappa beta pathway for modulating the, improving your both the acquired immunity as well as the innate immunity, and Glirezia glabra, the Madhuyashti. So if you see most of the guidelines, especially in the Ayush guidelines, which is getting slowly circulated by All India Institute of Medical Science, use of Yashti Madhu for prashana with honey or use as a gargling. So this is again, so there was a Lancet publication which in vitro study has already proved that the previous version of COVID, which was in 2003, which also affects the same ACE2 target, it inhibits its absorption into the cells. So it protects both from allowing the virus to get inside the cell, as well as when it gets into the cell and starts replicating, it also disrupts the replication process by disrupting certain proteins, which is essential for again reconstituting the virus into your host cells. So that is very important, that Glirezia glabra or Yashti Madhu has to be at some point of time also part of our initial phase of management, where we are knowing whether we are symptomatic or we are asymptomatic. If we are COVID positive, these are simple spice, simple herbs which can have some kind of effect on such situation. Now, another important combination is Musta. See, we have been all talking about Sadangapanium usage in the prevention of COVID-19. You'll see that Musta again in a silico study has been studied, and this all research has none of them been done in India. They have been done in China and recently published in April, first week. And it shows that again, Musta, Cyperus rosarandus, has a chemical which prevents the synthesis of viral RNAs. So what happens is when viral RNA goes into the cell, the ribosome, it utilizes the cell ribosome and it starts, translating its own protein. And once all the proteins of its virus is made, then again it synthesizes to become a viral protein. So this process is also seems to be inhibited by Musta, which is there in many of the Jwara Kashayam. Musta Parpatake Jware. See, in Ayurveda, Musta and Parpata was some of the first therapy which was given in Ama Jwara stage. So in early stage, Musta is any combination which is having this Musta seems to be also scientifically, but yes, yet I can say in silico, not in clinical, but in silico being studied. Then Amalaki is again, so Amalaki, it inhibits the synthesis of viral structural protein of the COVID-19 virus. So this is very important to see that in most of the Jwara, we see one of the guidelines in Ayush is you have to use Chaturthaka Jwara Kashayam, where Musta Amalaki Amrita has been told. Now, if you look at Musta and Amalaki already has a very good inhibition effect on replication of the virus, and Guduchi C is one of the best immunomodulatory, which works on modulating the hypercytokamic storm, what we're talking about, inflammatory storm, which happens in reducing that high inflammation. It can modulate that inflammation. We see that Guduchi is very important herb in such condition, even in advanced and in moderate condition. So what I want to state that if you look at the markers, there are very important things which you will have to understand, that how we know in a COVID condition where somebody would progress to a, as we were talking about, almost around roughly 15% people goes to a severe stage and others do not. What are those markers which suggest that people can go to severe stage? And what we have got from probable good references from Lancet or from the PubMed Index journal, there are two important markers. One is the C-reactive protein is a very important marker. If C-reactive protein is high, it's most likely people will get severe form. The second one is IL-6, that is interleukin 6. If it is high, most probably they will have a severe form of a disease. Third is ferritin level. If the serum ferritin level increases, again, if you look at scientific, all the scientific journals, you see ferritin levels are very high when there is a hyperinflammatory response. That means you have high inflammation in your body leading to septicemia. So this is another marker which is very important to see in the patient. So you can predict that these markers, if they are high, they can get a severe form of this disease. And the fourth marker, which is very simple marker, prothrombin time or D-dimer test, we say, if the blood is showing fast clotting mechanism, platelet aggregation is very fast, that means the person is in a high risk to get a severe form of acute respiratory distress syndrome leading to the multiple organ failure. You will be also surprised to understand here, there is a very recent study done by Shastra University, which is published, though it is again a preclinical study. They studied two herbs. One is Guduchi and second thing is Kantakari. So they use the Guduchi and Kantakari, which is the part of most of the Sannipatika Jwara. If you see Vata Kaphaja, the option is basically Kantakari. When you see Vata Kaphaja Jwara, it starts with Kantakari. So Kantakari and Guduchi has been studied to reduce this, the platelet aggregation capacity, and which can prevent also this kind of thrombosis in the body. So what we see, if you look at all the guidelines which involves herbs, like we have been also preparing some internally. So we talked about a very important kashayam called as Panchatiktaka Kashayam, which is having Kantakari, which is having Guduchi. Then we have Shunti, we have Pushkar Mula, we have Kiratatikta. This is only 5 simple drug, which is told in Sannipatika Jwara and is good, said to be good for all the 8 types of fever with Kasaswasa, specifically associated with Kasaswasa. So in early stages or moderately severe case where there is no very strong shofar still exhibited, we find this combination seems to also stand to the clinical features which is reflected in COVID in early stages and moderate stages, as well as it caters to all the molecular pathways which we should attack in such cases, along with the Nasya and Kavala, what we have talked about. And in, of course, when it becomes advanced cases, Dr. Keshavan has been talking about Bharangi Adhikaran, absolutely perfect, because you have Dashamulam, and then you have Bharangi, Pushkar Mula, and Musta, again Shunti, which takes care of the other inflammatory response, which leads to a lot of accumulation of fluid. So if you look at conceptually, these herbs have a very preliminary scientific basis, mostly first in silico preclinical evidence, but I think it's a very quite a sufficient evidence to start some kind of collaborative work or research, because all these combinations which we are talking about are basically textual. They have been in our public domain for thousands of years, but that doesn't mean that we should use only because of having a history of usage, but also based on available scientific literature we can see. One herb which we want to left out is Pushkar Mulam. You will see studies of Pushkar Mula and effect on mast cells activity. Now, mast cell is an important cell which is involved in the innate immunity, where these cells immediately attack our toxins or bacteria or virus when it enters into our upper respiratory tract or lower respiratory tract. So the activation of this mast cell happens with the Pushkar Mula. That means it helps you to fight out this virus and the bacterial viral toxins which is created by the proteins in the cells. So I think if you look at the scientific validation, there are preliminary basic scientific cause for why we should use all these herbs, and I think nobody can prevent us not following the spice. So if nothing else, you want to stay healthy, as we have discussed in our last webinar, use spice, herbs, and those dietary ingredients which will improve our both innate as well as acquired immunity by using these herbs. So over to you, Chaitanya.
Dr. Keshavan, would you like to add on to anything that Dr. Somit has given on the pathophysiology understanding behind it?
Rather than the pathophysiology, as Dr. Somit was telling, the comprehensive management of COVID in Ayurveda has to be very, very subjective and individualistic. And irrespective of what all modern inputs we get regarding the new ways or validation of the ways medicine works according to Ayurveda, it can be validated with the modern technology. When I always feel that when a patient sits in front of you, the thought process of how you treat a patient has to be Vata, Pitta, Kapha.
No matter
what. Other things, what we say, will validate what is being told in the Granthas. So, what I feel nowadays, what more is happening is, we look at the antiviral effect of medications. We look at the modern perspective of disease management. And sometimes what I feel is the real Ayurvedic concept of Chikitsa, based on the simple Vata, Pitta, Kapha imbalance, is sometimes driven more with the modern understanding of the drugs rather than the Ayurvedic aspect of management. In that sense, and one more thing what I would like to stress is, it is very important that the management of any disease, including COVID, when you are taking it into a national scale, where a lot of Ayurvedic Ayush doctors are involved, it should be made very simple so that each and every doctor, at least who is in the tertiary level of Ayurvedic care management, is able to is able to understand and use it. So in that sense, what I feel is, we look at the doshic as Somit doctor was telling, you have the Vata Kapha Jwara, you have the Vatolbana Sannipata Jwara. These symptomatology has to be looked into, and depending on the Rogi Roga Bala, the general kashayams, what we have, as the told, Ela Kanadi, Vyagradi, Bharangyadi, the Dosholbana and the Rogolbana concept has to be used here. You have a patient who is having a Shwasa condition with a mild underlying Jwara condition. So you have to look into more of a Shwasa Chikitsa management with minimum Jwara management. Should be a combination. And we have to be very practical in the sense, now you see, you have manufacturers and you have pharmaceutical companies coming out with specific yogas and specific formulation, and except for some good hospital setup, it is very difficult to ask the patient to prepare kashayams. It's not practically feasible nowadays. So whenever we take some protocols, when the national Ayush protocols are there, it is except for single drugs, like Dr. Somit was telling, you have a Guduchi, you have a Haridra, you have a Pushkaramola. It is better that we stick ourselves to the regular classical formulations which are available everywhere and which is easily procurable. In that sense, the Kerala government's Ayush protocol is more practical. See, the problem there is, you have a South Indian Kerala tradition of Ayurveda happening here. This cannot be replicated in North India or East or West India. So there they should have their own protocol where they have more of a concept of Rasaushadis and more of Churna and Gutika Kalpanas are more in usage. So like I told, the COVID management in a diverse, culturally diverse place like India, it has to be very regionalized to the place where the population is. So the Kerala protocol may extend, you can follow it up to Tamil Nadu or Karnataka. But beyond that, I don't think the Kerala protocol of medications is feasible in other parts of India. So every region, according to their culture and tradition, they have to come out with, see, Ayurveda has different styles. You have a North Indian style, you have a South Indian style of Ayurveda. So accordingly, you have to devise that protocols. But the Kerala protocol, what they have done is the medicine. You have the general pathophysiology is very much the same. The medicines, what they have told, I think it is quite good, and it is very effective to people who are in that region. Maybe South India, you can use that protocol. But as you go to different parts, different protocols have to be used. And one important thing I would like to stress is the protocols and the management has to be simple and effective. So in the sense, you have to give some base. See, most of the Ayurvedic doctors have the basic understanding of all the medicines they might have learnt in their classes. But specific roles of specific kashayams, the doctors have to be sensitized regarding how to use those kashayams and in what way you have to use it, in what combination you have to use it. That has to be sensitized, and it should be available everywhere, and it should be simple. So you have ready-made kashayams, which if you look at South India, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, most of the kashayams are available. Bharangyadi is widely used, Ela Kanadi is widely used, Vyagradi, Indukanta. But as you go to the north, the usage of such kashayams are very restricted because of the geography, the tradition, the culture. So there you have most of the Rasaushadha preparations and Vati Kalpanas and Churna Kalpanas, which are more, and Swarasa Kalpanas are more in use. So it has to be very customized to the region. And the protocol should be simple, where you are able to tell a treating doctor in simple terms, these are all the lakshanas you see, you can use these combinations. These are all the lakshanas you see, you can use this combination, and you have to give that discretion to the treating physician that ultimately it is your call, and you have to judge and decide finally what is good for your patient. So that protocol has to be in a very simple way. But the Kerala protocol is very good for Kerala and South India. But I don't think that protocol can be that medications. See, the medications of what the Kerala protocol, it is very good. But how well can the same medications be implemented in the other parts of the country? It is questionable. So it should be very regional specific, region specific. It should be more specific to the place and the style of Ayurveda they are using, adapted to.
Dr. Sujit sir, coming to you as somebody who is more into the research, is there anything that you would add to this discussion that happened?
See, the protocol of treatment, when we look at how Ayurveda looks at as a disease and how treatments are done, can vary from region to region, and also how the disease is manifested in the individual. So, unlike the conventional medical system, evolution of a protocol has to consider a lot of things, and the protocol as such cannot point towards a particular medicine. There can be stratification on what are the types of symptoms that appear and how to manage that from the peripheral level, and the rest depends upon the use of the selection of the drugs. We have a variety of drugs, and the selection of the drugs entirely depend upon the yukti of the Vaidya.
Rahul, what do you think is the need of the hour? Is it a research, or is it allopathy and Ayurveda coming together, or is it getting into the public and making them understand what has to be done in terms of diet and routine? So what is the need of the hour? What do you think about?
2 points has to be, we have to keep in mind, like combination of Ayurveda and allopathy, because in modern medicine, we don't have the facility. Our hospitals lack the facility of admitting the COVID patients. If it goes severe, it needs ventilator and oxygen support. So it should be a need of the hour is that modern hospitals that are equipped with these modern techniques, in that hospital, Ayurveda has to be implemented. We should be allowed to prescribe medicines in association with the modern hospitals. And also awareness, like we did in Kerala, the break the chain awareness are very less in world. So that kind of awareness campaigns has to be promoted to make the public. As we all know, social distancing is the main factor that can keep away the disease or the virus. So that kind of campaigns has to be promoted, and the association of modern medicine and Ayush systems has to be implemented very soon.
Thank you, Dr. Rahul. And so, Mitsa, coming to you, is there anything that you would add to this discussion of?
So one important thing which has come out of all is common is that treatment strategies need to be individualized. So there can be, of course, certain herbs which has to be taken in consideration, seeing the dosha relationship, as well as certain, if there are scientific evidences of those herbs, we need to definitely look into that those herbs related to that herbs, there are enough combinations. So I duly agree with Keshwan, Dr. Keshwan, that the Kerala, what is the guideline may not be followed in the north. So if you look at broader Ayush guidelines, they have included a lot of combinations of different thought processes with across different strategy of management in terms of kalpana. But if you look at all these guidelines, somewhere the herbs have come to some specific group of herbs, which is very important in jwara, management of Jwara, then Kasaswasa, and equally good for Prameha, Pandu, Vatarakta, as well as disorders of Hridroga or kind of Medodhatu Shuddhi. So I think we need to keep the intellectual freedom for the physicians intact. But yes, there should be an informed decision by a physician if there are scientific references about which suits both the dosha thought process as well as if there are adequate scientific basis for that dosha thought process. That should be a primary reason why we should stick to such combination which has both of them, which aligns the doshic thought process as well as scientific backing. So I think that would be a more promising way to go forward with a better evidence-based approach.
There is one more aspect of the whole talk what we are having. See, the disease as such, we are in for a longer haul. It is not that we are looking at a window of 3 weeks or the lockdown period or 3 months. It is years together. So that is where, when you look at the long-term perspective, the role Ayurveda can play is very, very crucial. So you may come out of the lockdown after a few weeks, or as everyone says, the curve might have flattened after a few weeks. So the end game of any pandemic is something what we call it as the herd immunity. So ultimately at some point larger population should get exposed to the disease with minimum complications or minimum impact on the individual. So the end game is always whatever ultimately what we are doing is flattening the curve and reducing the mortalities in aged population, and the virulency of the disease has to be controlled. But the long plays, ultimately the end game is at least 30. See, even epidemiologists say that 30 to 40% of your population should get herd immunity. Then only we can say that the whole pandemic nature of the disease is under control. So when you are looking at the long-term perspective, the Ayush protocol has to be adapted. It has to be customized for long time management. And once everything settles down, you have people coming, maybe an institution like us, you get maybe from today onwards, from now onwards, every second patient will have the question, should I take something preventive for this disease? So the whole game begins from there, what you do ultimately in long run. So Ayurveda has a greater potential and scope for long-term disease management. That's what I feel.
Yeah, so I think as rightly said by you, so let's advise our patient something which also enhances or fastens the process of developing this herd immunity. And that's where, a lot of Ayurvedic spices and way of life would also help us in improving our acquired immunity as what we are talking about. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was the discussion of Ayur Learned series on COVID-19. So every Ayurvedic doctor or physician is ready to treat COVID-19 as a challenge, and everybody has their own prescription. But what has to be stressed is it has to be customized according to the state where they belong to, the region where they belong to, the season they are into, and the main symptom that they present, because the symptoms decides which is the adhikarana that an Ayurvedic physician should go into, and the associated symptom will decide what are the other medicines which should go into the prescription. But we really hope this discussion get to the government officials and also make us a part of the whole fight against COVID-19. So I believe we will also soon be into the fight against, as in like we also get the patients of COVID-19 to treat and also to have an active role in prevention of COVID-19 nationwide. So this was the discussion. Stay home, stay safe, stay indoor. Together we stand with you and we shall definitely overcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.